I've actually been seeing a lot more rain usage in early regulation age for right now. Like, there's been a lot of Pelipper and Basculegion, it feels like.
Yeah, I think that Rain has had kind of like a paradigm shift. I think it used to be a lot more of a bulky archetype, and it's getting a lot more aggressive as time goes on. And I think that's just indicative of what Rain usually does, is being like, I'm gonna dish out insane water hits really, really fast. And I think that it's very strong in this metagame, because I think there's a lot of really strong water weak Pokemon, Blood Moon Ursaluna and Base Ursaluna. A lot of things,
Incineroar.
Yeah, Incineroar.
Incineroar.
I think a lot of really strong Pokemon also take water neutrally, and when it's adaptability boosted with Choice Band in the rain, it doesn't really feel like a resist anymore, or even neutral. So I think that aggressive rain is definitely something strong to look out for in this format.
There definitely has been that aggressive rain strategy here, and actually I think we're about to see rain in this match. We have not seen rain all day, but we're going to see it in our top 4 matchup here between Brady Smith and Matthew Laughlin.
Yeah, I think that both of their teams are really, really interesting. We're seeing, a pretty pseudo-standard rain team here with a few changes out for, like, the safety goggles, Terra Water, Clefable, and the inclusion of the sturdy Terra Electric Archaludon versus the typical Stamina one that we see.
Yeah, because our Chaludon, we know how much sturdy is going to, stamina is the preferred ability on our Chaludon, because you just put it next to a Mousehold and you just click beat up or you click population bomb. Shout out to Nicholas Morales.
But like you were saying, there's a lot of really aggressive offenses format, and I think that having that Terra Electric Power Herb Electroshot Archaludon is very indicative of that, and it says like my goal is to do damage fast and not really sit on the field for a billion turns and kind of win the war of attrition. You want to just get things done with efficiency, and that's definitely represented by this team here.
It definitely is. And again, like we were talking about that Basculegion, now you were talking about the adaptability Basculegion. Yes. This one is a Swift Swim Basculegion, so that ensures that it will be the fastest Pokemon on the field without Tailwind up on the side of Brady Smith.
100%. It is notable to note that Brady does have access to Tailwind on his team.
Oh, he does. Oh, he does have access to. No, wait, no, that's Matthew. That's
they both do.
They both do. Yes, on the Dragonite. On the Dragonite, there is the Tailwind on Brady's side. So that is something to note here.
100% is, because without those Swift Swim, Basculegion isn't really the fastest Pokemon.
No, Basculegion is definitely not the fastest Pokemon. It would probably be something like the Annihilate potentially, or even the Mousehold. It's
probably going to be the Mousehold in this matchup, just because we see that Focus Sash stat, which usually is indicative of like the max speed, max bulk variation. So I think that we're definitely going to see a very interesting all-out offensive game here. We see on Brady's team, since we talk about Matthew so much, we see really strong options like the setup Goldengo and the Blood Moon Ursaluna and the Rillaboom. And I think we're going to be 3 really big key offensive players in this matchup. Blood Moon I think offers so much damage in almost everything on this board. It's going to be really hard to work around, but then again, it's weak to water, so it's definitely going to be a interesting dichotomy between these two teams and seeing what comes out on top.
And it's also important to note that Brady does have that Mouse Ape combination here.
Yes, he does.
Mouse Ape is a very fun combination to use. However, Annihilate is weak to Pelipper without Terra because of the fighting versus flying, and if it terrestrializes into a fire type, it becomes weak to Weather Ball.
Yes, I do think that the Annihilate is in a really interesting spot in this matchup, that I think that it can definitely do some work, and it can definitely bolster its defenses enough to kind of shrug off most of these attacks from these Pokemon. But when we have such heavy hitters like that Archaludon and the Basculegion, it's really hard to justify bringing the Annihilate without the proper support.
And also, when we look at Maddie's team, you did bring up the fact that there is that Clefable. Now, yes. Clefable is a Fairy-type Pokemon. It's a natural Fairy-type. The only attacking move on Brady's Dragonite is that Scale Shot.
100%, and that's definitely relevant because I think that it's one of his better options into this team, because it's, you have that multi-scale to take that, Archaludon hit on the chin, or that, that Pelipper Weather Ball, or Hurricane. But, now that you have that Clefable to kind of like deny it, it's kind of hard to justify the Dragonite here.
It definitely is harder to justify the Dragonite here, because if it is that Clefable in the back potentially on Matthew's side, it just walls the Dragonite. If there's nothing Dragonite can do.
And then on top of that, the Terra Water is actually very valuable in this matchup as well, being able to like redirect some Basculegion attacks, or even some Archaludon Flash Cannons. I think that it's a very, very strong pick in this matchup.
It definitely is a very strong piece in this matchup here, alongside that Archaludon that you mentioned with the Power Herb, because you don't even have to do the Pelipper rain.
You don't. You get a free kind of turn to just kind of do whatever you want.
You definitely do, but we're going to get into game number 1 here. Will Matthew Laughlin or Brady Smith move one step closer to calling themselves a Video Game Cup champion here at Versus Games? We're getting into game number 1.
It looks like on Matthew's side, we're going to see that Clefable right out the gate, especially with that really offensive Arcaludon, and we're going to see that Ursaluna and Mousehold actually catching that Arcaludon, kind of putting a lot of pressure onto it early.
And what's also important to note here is that on the side of Brady here, there is that potential for Super Fang. And Super Fang, while it is a 90% accurate move, it cuts your opponent's HP in half.
Correct. I think that is a super strong move in this matchup because it kind of puts really everything in the range of Blood Moon Ursaluna's either Blood Moon or Earth Power. I think that it's a really, really strong option to try and break through that Clefable early.
It definitely is, but we also have to wonder about the Archaludon here because it would have Sturdy unless Mousehold goes into it with Super Fang. Blood Moon Ursaluna cannot knock it out in one hit.
Correct. I think that this board state is really, really interesting. We're actually going to see the Mousehold protect this early, not actually opting to use that Super Fang.
And we're going to see a Clefable go for Protect as well, just trying to stall out the turns here, potentially make sure that it survives a turn here. Here comes an Electro Shot. It gets that Power Herb boost, but it's most likely going to be going into the Mousehold here, and that's going to do no damage on this turn.
It's going to do absolutely nothing. I mean, getting that boost is really, really, really nice, but, you know, it only will go so far, especially when you don't get to actually get damage. Out of the move, excuse me.
We're going to see Earth Power. It is Earth Power into the Archaludon and brings it all the way
down to that Sturdy.
Wow, that would have been a one-hit knockout if Archaludon did not have Sturdy.
It would have, and then we're going to be able to see that, you know, Ursaluna putting a lot of pressure down, especially because it has that option of the spread move that Clefable can't necessarily redirect. So I would say that Brady's in a fantastic spot right now.
I would think Brady is in a very advantageous position here because he put one of Matthew's top attackers all the way down to just 1 HP left. Any move that Brady chooses into that Archaludon, as long as it does not follow me on the Clefable, and that Archaludon goes down.
Yeah, I mean, we do see the Archaludon get to protect, which is another massive value of not having to run that Assault Vest, is you get the option to protect.
And we do see Super Fang coming into the Clefable, lowering its HP down to 50%. Here comes a Moonblast into the Mousehold, which breaks the Focus Sash. However, Hyper Voice is the move of choice, and it will do big damage into the Clefable, bringing it into red HP.
Notably, you know, Matthew didn't really do anything to, you know, mitigate that Ursaluna pressure, so I think it could kind of just stay in here and just continue to kind of throw out attacks.
It definitely could continue to throw out attacks here because it is with the Assault Vest here and the Friend Guard, so even though that Archaludon is at +1 to its special attack, it's really not going to be doing much with that Flash Cannon or Dragon Pulse.
Yeah, especially considering the Assault Vest on Brady's Ursaluna. It's just in such a demanding defensive and offensive position right now. I really don't see Matthew getting a lot of value out of that Archaludon that's left on the field.
We're just going to see a Protect here come from the Mousehold. Try to stall out another turn and keep it on the field here. Follow me from the Clefable. Trying to redirect any Earth Powers from the Archaludon.
We are going to see the Dragon Pulse blocked by the Protect.
And it's going to be a Protect into the Mousehold here. And the Ursaluna went for Hyper Voice. And it will
double knockout.
A double knockout here. 2 major threats on Matthew's side. Taken down by the power of a bear.
Yes, and then notably, you know, Brady hasn't even revealed his back two yet. And, you know, Matthew's kind of forced to show all of his cards. I don't think this game over for Matthew. I think that depending on his last 2, it could definitely still be back in the game. But, you know, revealing your game plan this early is definitely not something you want to look at.
And it's going to be Pelipper and Incineroar. Most notably, it was Wolf's Incineroar.
Yeah, you know, the Pokemon he loves so much, you know, it's put in so much work for him over the past few seasons. And, you know, now with it on Matthew's side, maybe it will bring this back. But, you know, with that Ursaluna staring it down and then, you know, the possibility of, you know, even the Annihilate still there, the Dragonite, it's just not looking good for Matthew.
It is not here, but we do see a Terastallization coming out. I believe that is on Matthew's side. And no, it is actually on Brady's side. It's going to be this Ursaluna Terastallizing into a normal type to really power up those Hyper Voices and Blood Moon.
Yeah, this is definitely just some salt in the wound. I think Brady really has this one with his positioning, but, you know, going for that Terra just to put down even more damage. We are going to see the Fake Out actually mitigate the attack, and we're going to see the Super Fang miss. So, you know, Matthew kind of gets a free turn here to set up that Tailwind. I don't know how much the Tailwind really does for him here.
It might do some kind of damage here for Matthew because at least with the Tailwind being up, he can go for an attack into the Ursaluna here. However, the Mousehold still has access to that follow me and redirect.
Yeah, I think that the Mousehold really is doing a fantastic job at keeping this Ursaluna safe. We've basically seen almost 0 damage even enter Brady's side of the board. We're seeing, just minor scratches, both of his Pokemon still in the green, while we're seeing Matthew really have to think hard about his decision on how he's going to, neutralize these threats.
It really just comes down to, I think, with the Pelipper, who is faster, that Pelipper or Incineroar? Because if Incineroar is faster than Pelipper, Incineroar could in theory go for a knockoff into the Ursaluna, remove the Assault Vest, and then I think the Pelipper could knock it out.
It's possible, but I don't know with the Friend Guard.
We're going to... here's another change up here.
See the Terra Stellar Pelipper.
So while Pelipper stays a water and flying type, it gets a boost to the first time it uses Hurricane and Weather Ball, and it's going to be Weather Ball. So Pelipper is the faster Pokemon here.
And we'll be going into the Ursaluna, notably not seeing that follow me, and it's going to be doing a very, very meaningful chunk, but still keeping it in the green here.
And we're going to see Super Fang wisely into the Pelipper to remove its Focus Sash. Incineroar goes for the knockoff and removes the Assault Vest, but in comes the Terra Normal Hyper Voice, knocking out the Pelipper.
Yeah, we see it was just too little, too late, and I think that, Matthew is definitely still in this set. He definitely has some options, but I think that he's definitely going to have to refactor his game plan going into Game 2.
You definitely will have to factor in what is going to happen for this Game 2 here, because Brady has won Game 1 very cleanly.
Very clean Game 1.
I don't even think he lost a Pokemon.
He did not. He didn't have to switch. He didn't have to do anything. He kind of just let these 2 Pokemon sit on the board and rock.
Which is absolutely incredible. That just showcases how strong Brady is and how he identified his win position on lead.
Yes, 100%. I think Blood Moon Ursaluna is definitely a Pokemon to look out for in this metagame. Offering such insane burst damage as well as very solid defenses all around. It definitely is a threat to watch out for in this matchup, and I think that Matthew definitely has to give it some agency and respect it.
He definitely has to respect it, because now we were talking about Mousehold and Annihilate. We didn't even think about Mousehold and Ursaluna.
Yeah, no, Mousehold and Ursaluna is a very strong combo. Really, Mousehold plus any Pokemon on his board is actually very strong, just because of the threat of that Friend Guard and the Follow Me, and the fact that most of his Pokemon have really solid ways of dishing out damage.
They definitely have ways of dealing out the damage here, but also we might be seeing a little bit of a switch up here. I think that for Matthew here, I think you have to bring the Basculegion.
I think you do. I think that seeing the Basculegion would not surprise me. But things like the Focus Sash on the Mouse and the Dragonite and the Rillaboom make it really hard to get value. So I think you definitely have to be smart about the way that you play that Basculegion. Obviously, if Basculegion comes, I think Pelipper is a must. But the Basculegion Pelipper Rain combo is so strong. But I definitely think that Brady has the tools to beat it with that Dragonite and that Rillaboom and that Mousehold. I think that he's a really strong defensive backbone, ready for that Rain. And we are going to see that Rain combo come out on lead.
We are going to see the Rain lead. It is the Basculegion and the Pelipper. So suddenly, this is a Basculegion with Choice Band Wave Crash in the Rain. I think even with the Friend Guard, I don't know of an Annihilate that can live that.
I would agree. Definitely because they've been going on the speedier side in this metagame. However, the Focus Sash definitely gives that Annihilate a guaranteed two attacks to kind of dodge. So we are going to see, the Mouse Ape combo, which is very strong, and it puts a lot of pressure onto Matthew's side of the board. It has so many options that it can opt for. It can go for the beat up play, the follow me play, the Super Fang play. It's just such a strong combo. We're going to definitely, it definitely seems like a very read heavy situation right now that we're in.
It definitely does, and we're going to see Annihilate going for the Protect on Brady's side, trying to scout out potentially a Wave Crash 100%. Into the Annihilate, but it's just going to be a Choice Band flip turn into the Mousehold here.
Breaking that Sash and putting it down into the yellow, while that Pelipper is kind of just sitting pretty, not super duper threatened by all that's going on. Maybe the worst case scenario is Super Fang here. And we're going to see that our Caledon come in to kind of milk that Rain and then not necessarily have to use that Power Herb item, saving it for later.
And we're going to see the Pelipper take the Super Fang, but it's just going to go for a Weather Ball. Matthew has identified that Mousehold was a big threat in that last game, and he wants it off the field early.
100%. So Matthew actually takes the first KO in this game, which is definitely a nice change of pace considering, he got not even to be able to break Brady's lead. So this is definitely a better position for Matthew in this game too. And we're going to see the Dragonite come out, which puts on a lot of pressure with that Scale Shot and that Haze, kind of getting rid of that Arcalodon's boosting potential.
It definitely does here because the Archaludon, and also it has the sturdy ability, as we've said. It's not going to get a boost for every time Scale Shot hits.
Yeah, Scale Shot seems like a much more offensively threatening option in this matchup, but considering you do not have that stamina, especially because you don't really have the resist, you're a steel type, but you're also a dragon type, and usually when they're sturdy, they go max speed, max special attack, which means that they might, the Scale Shot might do a very significant chunk of damage. We are going to see the Drain Punch come out, however, revealing that how fast that Annihilate is trained, and we are going to see the Electro Shot come out.
Electro Shot comes out here, and it will get that +1 to its special attack stat, but by virtue of the rain being up, there's no charge turn here, and it's just going to go right into this Annihilate. +1, well over 50%. However, Annihilate Citrus Berry activates and regains HP.
Yeah, we are going to see that Annihilate take a big chunk of damage, which is super good here. And we're going to see the Scale Shot miss!
Oh no, the Scale Shot miss, and there's the Tailwind on the Pelipper!
Matthew can maintain and control that Scale Shot miss is so unfortunate. That move is so strong, but you know that 10% chance that it's going to end up missing is such a strong drawback when it happens.
It is a huge drawback when it misses there, because now Dragonite, it has to either potentially risk a Tailwind on its side, or it's going to go down potentially in a double up here if Matthew calls it correctly.
I definitely think that, Matthew is in a pretty commanding position in this game too.
I definitely think he is here because the Pelipper, it is in a great position against this Annihilate. However, the Dragonite still has multi-skill, but we're going to see a switch.
We're going to see the Pelipper switch out into that Incineroar, activating that Annihilate's Defiant.
This is very interesting here. Switching in Incineroar in front of an Annihilate. I'll admit, I've done this plenty of time.
Yeah, you're going to definitely have to see that he goes for the Protect here. Now that really puts a big target on that Annihilate's back because you're kind of giving it a boost. So you're kind of giving it something to run away with. If you don't deal with that Annihilate quickly and efficiently, it's just going to be able to get so much value from that attack boost.
And he went the Electro Shot into the Annihilate as well. So now Dragonite gets a Tailwind up here, and suddenly this Annihilate is at +1 attack with the Tailwind. It is the fastest Pokemon on the field.
It is back to being the fastest Pokemon on the field. It's definitely a really, really, really unfortunate positioning for Matthew here, because you gave that Annihilate a boost, and now it's the fastest thing on the field as a virtue of you not respecting the Dragonite's Tailwind pressure. So now we're just going to see a very clear, very clean, unfortunate board position here with the Annihilate just being so poised to do so much this game.
We're actually going to see Archaludon switch out here and go into the Bascule Legion. Oh, this is actually big, trying to call the close combat here. Was it the close?
Critical hit fake out into the Dragonite, too.
But it's a Rage Fist!
It's a Rage Fist!
Oh no, +1 for Rage Fist! 100 base power, there is no Bascule Legion that will survive that.
Yeah, that was a very fantastic read by Brady. Very good identification that the Drain Punch could be very easily punished. And with that +1 given to you by that Incineroar, it almost feels like Wolf's Incineroar actually handed the Annihilate that game on a silver platter. It definitely is such a hard thing to call, though, because, if that Protect didn't come out, that Electro Shot kind of cleans up shop for Matthew. So it's definitely something hard to identify. But I think that, there might be a way for Matthew to call himself back into this one, but we see him back on his, back foot with that Incineroar and Pelipper combo, facing down two, gargantuan threats on Brady's side of the board with that Dragonite and Annihilate, notably at +1 in Tailwind.
And what's important to note here is that the Annihilate, it has a 100 base power Rage Fist right now by virtue of that one Electro Shot hit, but it's also got that +1 to its physical attack. It's going to do some big damage with the Rage Fist. It doesn't even matter if it's super effective.
It doesn't. We're going to see the Incineroar actually up for the Terra Grass here, maybe trying and whittle away and try and get value and dodge some super effective hits here. But I think it's yet again, I think it's too little too late.
Well, here comes that Rage Fist into the Pelipper here. Pelipper will go down. So Pelipper is down for the remainder of the battle here. Dragonite is going to go for that Scale Shot, and it will hit this time.
It will, and even though that Dragonite is intimidated, it's still doing a pretty meaningful chunk.
It's doing a meaningful chunk here, and it gets the 4 hits. Will it get 5?
It
will not. We do see the defense drop and a speed raise, but now where does this Incineroar go for? It goes knockoff into the Annihilate.
And it's just not doing enough.
It's not doing enough, but Annihilate is now at 150 base power Rage Fist, and Incineroar terastallized out of its resistance.
And Matthew's Tailwind actually ends here, which means that Dragonite is now also faster than the Archaludon and the Incineroar.
It is definitely faster here. And we do see Archaludon just going for the Protect, try to stall out that last turn of Tailwind here on Brady's side. And we're just going to see Dragonite go for the Tailwind and fail. But again, this is a +1 150 power Rage Fist into a neutral Incineroar. And Incineroar survives!
And it gets that Citrus Berry, which gives it a little bit of more HP to play with, but I still think it's a little too late.
That is a very bulky Incineroar to live.
Yes, it is. And we're going to see the Flare Blitz come out, actually notably kill that Annihilate. But, you know, between how low of an HP stat it's already at and that recoil, it's just not looking good for that Incineroar.
It's not looking good here as the Tailwind peters out on both sides here, and all that remains is the Blood Moon Ursaluna and this Dragonite.
Yeah, you know, this is still, you know, two massively offensive threats on Brady's side, mostly at full HP except for that Dragonite with a little bit of fake out chip. And, you know, Matthew's board just so heavily damaged. I don't know if, you know, Matthew can actually claw back after that.
I'm not sure he can either, but we do see a Tailwind come out from the Dragonite. He actually opts to let the Ursaluna go for the Earth Power into the Archaludon
and it knocks
here.
It out, unfortunately.
So all that's left is this Terra Grass Incineroar against the Blood Moon Ursaluna and a Dragonite.
And we're going to see that Flare Blitz, and it's going to do a meaningful chunk to Ursaluna. But, you know, at least, you know, the Incineroar, it gets some damage off before it's, you know, inevitably sent to its demise by a double up from this Dragonite and that Ursaluna.
And we do see the writing on the wall. Matthew Laughlin has turned in the match slip. Brady Smith has advanced to the finals.
This is super exciting. It's two super cool teams from two super very talented trainers. You know, Brady's been on a tear this whole tournament. I think that, you know, the nature of having so many different possible opportunities between the Mouse Ape and the Doug core of the Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo, and the Rillaboom for additional support. I think that his team is just so well built, and it's there's so many threats that offer so many different pins at so many different angles that it's really, really hard for some more aggressive teams to keep up with its options.
It definitely did, and we didn't identify that Basculegion could be coming in game number 2 here, and unfortunately it just couldn't get set up right. And then even Brady, he calls the switch out into the Basculegion, and he just smacks it with a Rage Fist.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Brady just had such a commanding lead, and he had, you know, he had the reads, he had the board state. I think that there was very little that Matthew really could have done in the late stages of those games, just because Brady got so much value so early that it was really hard to try and find a place for that Basculegion to come in and try and get value for its moves and, you know, its position on the board. I think it was just the Basculegion couldn't find the right positioning.
He definitely did. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here. Get ready for our final matchup. Congratulations to Brady Smith on making it to finals here at the Versus Games League Cup. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have our final matchup.
See ya.